because I don't know. I'm a paranoid individual.
I feel it. I feel it. Okay. Well, it's Up at Night with John episode. Technically, this is going to be episode 4, so 3 will be out already, and then this will be number 4. And I have with me Tony Guard. It's also known as Acheulean. Is that how you pronounce that? I
You know
never.
what? You know what? I
Acheulean?
mean, a lot of no, no, no. A lot of dude. I actually had someone actually say Archilian to me like 2 days
Acheulean.
ago. I said it's Acheulean, like
Okay.
Acheulean forest.
Acheulean. Okay. Forests.
Yeah,
I have him
Acheulean
with me
forest.
for the remainder of the evening. So, anyways, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fine. I'm outside in the nature. Just kidding. I'm actually in an apartment building outside of a gate next to a brick building with graffiti on it. But I'm doing pretty good. I live in a shoebox, so I'm just trying to be discreet when it comes to my living partners and just trying to be you know have a good day. Enjoy this dark gray atmosphere that is usually known to Illinois. This the very over depressive overcast kind of weather that we usually have.
Right.
We're in the quarantine, so I'm staying at home.
Isn't it weird to say you
I'm
were
in
under
some
quarantine?
slippers, stepping over cigarettes, and life is great.
So, what kind of
Very
slippers
raw.
are they?
They are. I don't even know. I bought them at a Walmart. Walmart gang, shout out. I don't know. They're like sports. They're sportsy. My
Sportsy.
sister got me actually into wearing these because she had these same kind of slippers, and I was thinking to myself, well, those look comfortable. They're made for walking outside and indoors, mainly outside though.
You know,
So I was like,
I've yet
they're
to
like,
find a real pair of comfortable slippers. They always look comfortable, and in theory they should be, but they never are. I don't know why. I have bad luck with it.
yeah, no, because the thing is though, like comfortable slippers for inside houses, you gotta like find something that's a little bit soft. Because what the people want what the people want is like soft slippers. They want something that's comfy and you can do a little bit of sprinting in them. But when it comes to like comfortable house slippers or outdoor slippers, these are kind of more sportsy
Right.
type of like you can like go outside and like they got some thickness to them, a little bit more rubbery as opposed to the traditional what's what I'm looking for um, uh, feathery,
Right.
cottony.
Well, I think, I don't know, for me, like, it's the same thing about sneakers. Like, if I put on shoes, like, they're all supposed to be comfy and soft and shit, but, like, they never are, like, the level that I expect them to be. You know what I mean? It's,
Yeah,
it's, it's always weird. I
with
always put them,
sneakers, it's a trick. I mean, I'm a very grody individual when it comes to my foot attire. I'm the kind of person that has like two pairs of shoes, and then once both those wear out, I gotta go like wait a month until I can afford to and afford to wear some more like $29 Walmart shoes. But yeah, with sneakers, I've never been much of a individual that has like much taste. I'm more like a dumpster individual when it comes to sneakers. So
I
I've
miss,
never actually been able to.
I miss mid 2000s sneakers. Just huge fucking monstrosities on your feet. I love those.
Oh yeah,
Like those
those fucking like
snowshoes and shit like that. SNE.
oh yeah, they're like the Django.
Something.
They're like the Jankos of
Yes.
sneakers.
Yeah. I wore like in the 2000s, in the early 2000s, I had on like this pair of tech like Jinko pants, but they were like mammoth fucking size, and they were like tech, so they were like that weird, plasticky texture, and it had like 5 million
Yeah,
pockets and shit in it, and like yeah, and I wore that with pride. I have no clue why. I don't know where I got that pride from, but I wore them.
yeah. No, the thing about those kind of jeans were that they were they were like mammoth, like, and then they came down at the bottom. They were like it was like a tsunami. Like once you had those pants, because like the bottom would cover like the entire foot and everything, and
Yeah,
like that.
exactly. Exactly. And you had to have something thin on top. You couldn't have something baggy on top over those baggy pants. Like that's how that was the fashion back then. You had like a tank top on for the if you're gonna have extra baggy
Yeah, it was
pants.
always oversized clothing.
It
It was always
was
oversized clothing. It was always like
big shoes.
large pants, and you had to have like a size a t-shirt that was like 4XL, and then and then you're listening
Do
to
you
Mudvayne
do you remember the
and
size?
bands like
Do you remember the size XXL like Looney Tune shirts? I remember when people wore those.
oh
Like those were
God,
those
I
were
don't even want to.
huge.
I don't even want to think about that specific
Those were
era. That
so
kind of makes
big,
me. It's
and
traumatic.
what happened was is they immediately
But
became inherited by white trash. Like immediately, it was like within like 2 years.
Gangster Bugs Bunny. It was like the Gangster
Yeah,
Bugs Bunny or like the Gangster
that was a socially
Freebirds.
like as a thing that trend moved socially unlike any other trends ever. It was up and then it was gone and it was picked up by like Goodwill white trash type thing. It was weird.
Wiggers. I mean, can we say wig? I mean, is that am I stepping over board here? It was these what is it? What is his name? The dude he makes like these funny videos. I forgot his name. I can't think of it right now, but he's like the epitome of like the parody. He makes like these parody videos of like these like funny like wigger dudes that like with the like the fucking hats with the fucking brim and he's always being like like yeah no I'm saying like Squeezy
Oh
Jibs or whatever
yeah,
the fuck
yeah, I
his name.
remember that.
It's just funny. I don't know. I always thought wiggers were cool. I mean, I remember I had friends who were from like Alabama, and then like I would talk to these dudes, and
It
a lot of the
depends.
time they're individuals that would go to like the meeting of the Juggalos and shit, and they'll be like, "Man, I saw ICP live, man."
I knew I knew a
Yeah,
cool juggalo guy, but I also knew this one guy. He went by the name Tim Shady. That was his name. And he looked like the lead singer to Smash Mouth, but he had on like baggy jeans and like a 4XL shirt. And, like he was like this is how he talked the whole time. So like this is how he sounded. Like this is how he talked like all the time. Didn't matter what you do. You'd be like, hey Tim, can I have a cigarette? Hey yo, yeah, I give you a cigarette. Let me get you one. Like everything was this huge production with him. So but yeah, I remember him. He was hilarious. And he ended up being a crack dealer. I didn't even know it. He was a
I
secret
mean,
crack dealer.
you should have heard in his voice when he first started talking. He was probably. Can you still hear me? I'm sorry. I'm just
Oh,
gonna
I can
pop
hear
that
you.
little
I can
volume.
hear you.
Okay, great. Yeah, man, you hear in his voice. He was one of those individuals who Wigger. Let me get back at you one second. He was probably hollering at the blackest black women. He was probably trying to you know pick up some. He was only hollering at the chicks with the apple bottom jeans on. He wasn't talking to anybody else. He made a career out of that. He was
Oh
selling
man.
crack and he was a wigger and he went to gathering of the juggalos and he hollered at black women with halter tops and apple bottom jeans.
I think
Food for
he, you
thought.
know what? I think Tim
So we have.
Shady ended up with a black chick. I think he did. I think he did.
You think?
I
You
think he did.
think? I know he did.
I'm,
I don't even know the motherfucker.
oh, I'm pretty sure that sounds about right too. Like, because it's been so long since I heard like even seen any of these people anymore. So,
Hey, let me holler at you real quick.
oh man, I remember one time there was this dude. I worked at this kitchen, and it was what the fuck was it called? It was called Bel Air Grill, and I worked there as a cook. I was like, I don't know,
Yeah.
maybe 20, 21, something like that. And I I had just lost my car. Like someone wrecked it. Like someone ran into it.
Oh,
So I
God.
lost my car. I didn't
Oh,
have
good.
insurance, so whatever. So I was working and I had to walk back and forth to home. And I was coming out, and this dude pulls up in this like hoopty ride, like this Fifth Avenue. It was like run down Fifth Avenue. Comes up, and he was all like, hey, yo, you BJ, right? Hey, I know who you are. Come on in, man. BJ, come on. I was like, what? BJ? No, no. I'm like, my name's not BJ. And he's like, yeah, but I know who you talking about. Like, I know you hang out. You hang out with BJ. I was like, maybe. Does this mean I might have a free ride home? Because because
No,
if it
no, you're
is,
about to
like, I'm
take you up
friends
and
with
sell your
BJ.
organs on the black market.
So, like, I get in the car, and then there's another dude there in the front seat. So I get in the back seat, and immediately they start talking. And, like, you gotta understand, like, this story I'm about to tell you is like my hand to God, the 100% true story. Like, every bit of this is not exaggerated. So I get in the car,
I can hear this.
and they're talking about a scheme of switching barcodes around and then going back and returning those things and getting a shit ton of money or put them on gift cards. They were
Jesus
doing it at
Christ.
Kmart and Walmart and all these other places. So I walked in on with them on Walmart and they no Kmart and they bought like shit that's cheaper
Oh, that shit.
with a stolen gift card. So they go and buy all this shit off of it, and they go and switch the barcodes, and they go to Home Depot in Knoxville after that to go and get
Fuck
more
me.
money. And so they needed me to like do it because they were so like known for doing this that they like people knew who they were. So I was like, yeah, cool. So I was like, let's do it. I mean, how much money do I get? And like, oh yeah, we'll get you a cut. And I was like, cool. So we went all the way to Knoxville and did that, and it came out, and I had $800 and something in cash in my hand. Like all of a
Oh my
sudden, just
god.
boom. And I was like, really? This is like it was a weird little window into a life. Like this is,
This is back when scamming was before TJ6.
yeah, like this
Or
is,
TJ6 existed.
this is when like you could still scam Walmart. You know what I mean? Like you can't do that anymore.
Yeah, dude. You can't just scam. No, you can scam Walmart. You just gotta be like TJ6 about it.
Yeah, but you can't like,
Have you ever heard of him?
no, actually, I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, so there's a. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt your story.
Oh no,
I know
it's okay.
um, there's a rapper now, my generation, who has made a career of rapping about how he scammed specific stores and like how he scammed Target, he scammed Walmart, he scammed Kmart. I mean, not Kmart because that shit does not exist any longer, at least where I live. But
Right.
um,
There's no more
yeah,
Kmart.
that's not right. Kmart's an arcane ass word. Like, I shall call forth the Kmart dragon. But
Above the
he's a little
hills is the
rapper.
Kmart
Cause what you talking
dragon.
about?
It's been sleeping
The
for
Kmart
long.
dragon over the hills. They've been out of business for a very long time, looking for new workers. Nobody wants to buy any business. The infrastructure is very poor. We have to come to. Anyways, yeah. So like what you were describing was like scamming. I'm like, dude, this sounds like a rapper that I listen to like, my generation. So when I heard you saying that, I'm like, man, it sounds like scamming.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
that
yeah.
sounds
The whole
like
thing was
I went to Walmart, got a mother, this
the
and
whole
that,
thing was a scam. It was fun. It was fun. It was easy money. It was really easy money.
This people are scamming. Not only are you blacker than me, no, not only is your voice blacker than mine, but you also running around wiggers scamming local
I
local,
I
local
gotta
white
tell you,
people
man.
stores.
Like, uh, the part of Tennessee that I lived for a while was an extremely like weird place, and it was very surprisingly hard. It was harder than you could imagine. It was weird. It was a weird place. Like where I lived specifically was right outside of Knoxville, and it was a strange ass
Oh, so you said
place.
Knoxville. Shout out Glenn Jacobs, greatest mayor on the planet. Anyways.
Is it really?
Yeah, Kane is the mayor of Knoxville now.
Oh my God, is he really? He's the
Dude, yeah,
mayor
the
of
WWE
Knoxville. That's
wrestler.
crazy. No,
He's the mayor of Knoxville.
the reason why I'm shocked is because in Jefferson City and also in I think it's Danville, I think it is out there, which is out right outside of Knoxville too. He had a restaurant called Cowboys for the longest time, and he like owned it.
Glenn Jacobs, Kane. Kane had a restaurant.
His daughter went to
That
school
is
there too
fucking
for longest for yeah
fucking Christ, man,
yeah.
dude. I'm 23 years old right now, dude. Like, Kane to me when I was a kid was like the fucking shit. Now he's a mayor of like Tennessee,
That's
like
insane.
Knoxville, Tennessee. Like fuck me, dude.
That is crazy.
I fucked people from Tennessee before, so like I mean I understand Tennessee asshole, so I don't. I'm sorry.
That's a that
Anyways,
specific place outside of Knoxville is like the worst place for cops. They're like the worst. They're like the worst in the world. The scourge there. They're horrible. God, they were so bad. At least in the time that I
so
lived
it's
there,
like
they were horrible.
it's a cop bar central.
Do what?
It's like cop bar central. You know, like there's like always cop bars in every like a little like folky town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a friend.
Uh,
His name's Johnny. His name is Johnny McDaniel, but his name is Johnny Wiley McDaniel. His real name was Wiley. I shit you not, man. I shit you not. And he was this tiny
I can I
little
see the
guy.
Confederate flag where I'm sorry.
He was a tiny little guy, and he had a trust fund. He had a trust fund, and he was like a huge pill addict, like huge. And he just spent that money on pills and shit. And he was the craziest guy in the world. He talked like this the whole time. That's just how he talked. And he was in a Waffle House one time, and he was
Oh
crying
god.
over his ex girlfriend in a bathroom, and he was in there too long, so they called the police. And like they came in there and when they pulled out of the bathroom, he got in a fight with them. And so like he got into a fight with like 6 cops in a Waffle House. It was it was the
Maybe
weirdest
Daisy
place.
Dukes in a Confederate flag shirt. And he's just like, God damn it, shut the fuck up.
I mean, he
No,
fucking got in this
kidding.
huge scrap. After they were done with him, they took him, of course, behind the Waffle House and beat the shit out of him. After that,
See, that's how corrupt, bro. I would never want to be a black person outside of Knoxville, Tennessee, or anywhere in Tennessee for that matter. You know, I'm gonna tell you something. I dated a dude from Tennessee. Like he was a yeah. By the way, anybody listening to dude, I'm a fucking from the north who's like black and gay and fucking. Yeah, my ex was from Tennessee. He's from Shelby. He's from Shelbyville.
Shelbyville, I know where that is. That's a shit town too.
Oh, dude, it's fixed. Dude, Confederate graveyards everywhere. Yo, don't even get me started
Yeah,
on this shit.
it's
I know
it's
Tennessee, bro. Shelbyville is like crackers. I'm sorry. Did I say it out loud? Anyways, yeah, fuck is crazy. No, but yeah, dude, Confederate. Dude, you can walk for miles in like the fields and shit, and then you like end up at a Confederate cemetery, and then you with a church, and then you go walk another mile in this other Confederate graveyard with a church, and then you're like, oh shit, where's civilization? Haha,
yeah,
non-existent. We're in fucking Tennessee.
it's
Um,
true. It's true. You know, there was a in this graveyard in Rogersville, Tennessee. It was the weirdest thing. Um,
fuck, man.
it was out in the country. So this is out in the middle of nowhere, and there's this tiny, like, little slab of land where there's like a Civil War graveyard. It was crazy. It's just it's weird that you'll walk in on that. There's no signs or anything. Like there's no no one like mowed around it. It's just sitting there undiscovered. It's so weird.
Yeah, there's a lot of like distant ancient memorials and a lot of places in Tennessee. I mean, I would go back, but like I wouldn't go back. But like, I mean, do you still stay in Tennessee?
No, no, that's a crazy place. Yeah,
Fuck.
I couldn't
Yes, a lot of meth.
I
A
couldn't
lot of fucking
abide.
meth, dude. I'm not gonna fucking.
Oh well, sure.
You can
There's
buy meth
there's a lot of
anywhere.
that. A lot of pills, a lot of meth,
It's a
a lot of
hilariously meth out country. Yeah,
people.
I really hope my boyfriend never hears me fucking listen to this interview ever in his life. Cause imagine being like this cross-dressing gay dude in like Tennessee, and like, you live in the middle of the fucking like shithole Shelbyville, and you just
Parts
like
of
moved back from Alabama.
parts of East Tennessee is surprisingly friendly to gay people, and so it's really what's the word? Striking. It's disarming. There's some parts
What?
of there where like there's no problems, and there's people who've lived there for 30 years or like out have been out, for 30 years, and they have no issues. It's a weird place. There's just you gotta go in the different places out
I'm
there.
gonna move to like areas in Tennessee. I'm just gonna, cause it's funny. I'm not gonna expose myself because I'm over here like discombobulated over some water that I've been sipping on. I guess you can call it water. Um, am I audible? Sorry, am I barely audible?
No, I
Or am
can
I
hear you.
audible? Audible?
I can hear
Okay,
you.
great. I'm sorry. I just don't want to be too low. I don't. I can't. I have okay. I'm gonna say this right now. I have really bad hearing, and when I have my headphones on, and I don't have a monitor, like reflecting like how I sound. I can't hear what I'm saying. I just know what I'm saying.
I feel
I can barely hear myself. But
so like you
okay.
podcast like Beethoven plays piano, sort of,
Yeah, I'm a fucking savant.
right? There you go. So okay,
Yeah, like on my music.
yeah,
Okay.
let's talk about your music real quick. Man, we went on a tangent about everything. It was insane.
Gay, ten- Gay Tennessee, and like,
So
please, I love them. I work for one. I wish they would come to the north more often so I could have more of them. They're annoying as fuck, but they're great. Anyway,
what makes them so great? Like, is it
they're funny as fuck, dude. Every black gay man I've met from Tennessee that lives in like Illinois is just like, listen, child, I ain't trying to fucking play no games with you, but at the same time, you gotta get this shit together, brother. They have like this twang in their voice that is so like it's annoying. I mean, it's sexy, but it's annoying as fuck.
so it's
I mean, I'm
like
sorry, I know you're heterosexual. I'm sorry.
it's sexy but it's shameful for you, is what you're saying because of the twang.
No, for me, no, no. I like it. I love the twang.
Okay,
My ex boyfriend was a white Tennessean, and he sounded like a white Tennessean. Like, listen here, man.
right.
All I'm trying to say is that I'm upset, but I'm not really that upset, you know. But like at the same time, like that twang is just like that's like a fetish of mine. I like it being a Tennessean.
I
Come and
feel
suck my dick, please.
just don't put your real address down. Don't worry about them.
I'm not gonna put my real, yeah, no. Unless you want to split it to some individuals, I'll give you that first name with the after the interview. But all right, back to the music. As we were saying.
Okay. I mean, we can talk about anything you want to talk about, but yeah, we can talk about music.
Man, we can talk about dick for days,
For
bro.
days. For days.
Okay, anyways, days. 45-hour interview. Never mind. Anyways, as we're saying.
This is the dick review.
This is the dick review from Tennessee.
Fuck it. This is the
Knoxville boys.
dick review. I had
What is his name? Like?
speaking of Knoxville boys, like I had a roommate. His name was, and he was like the up until then the gayest person I had never known, like outwardly.
Okay.
And
What's his number? Anyways, I'm sorry.
he was like he was trip living with him because he's also like a clubber, like he was like a club kid from 2000s, like 2001 club kid.
Oh, so he's a twink.
Yeah,
You
you know
know,
what,
little sparkly,
he kind of
sparkly
did.
little club kids. I know about that shit. I'm gay
he
as fuck, bro. I
he
know about
looked
club.
like he looked a little bit like Link from Zelda. He did. And
So did my ex. So did my ex. Oh my god.
he was fucking crazy. Like he would get these rich boyfriends, and these dudes would give him shit. It would be the craziest shit that he would ever get. Like he got a BMW one time. It was just given to him. I was like, damn. That's some crazy stuff.
What it means to be a rich white club kid that gets DMT, ecstasy, and all kinds of things. Anything you need. Man,
Drugs.
here's an asshole.
He had all kinds of
Dude,
drugs.
you have to have the greatest asshole in Tennessee to be a club kid in the South. Like your asshole must be like militarized, mechanized, all kinds of militaristic, industrial, weaponized.
Shaolin
That's an
Kegel
asshole. That
exercises
Shaolin
and shit.
Kegel, bro. That's a Mortal Kombat asshole, man.
Yeah,
Any white boy, straight or gay, will give you anything if that asshole will make you like go to planet Mars, bro.
that's the
So we're
thunderclap.
not talking,
Whap. Just gets a hold of you. Whap.
bro. My fucking boyfriend from Tennessee, bro. His asshole was like, I was I got addicted. I started like having like fucking breakdowns and shit. I'm just like, bro, anyways,
You were jonesing. You were jonesing for Graceland.
yo, dude, you sound like Jordan. When you say Jones, and I know a pothead dude would use that term. He's like, bro, you Jonesing for some booze right now. I
I
haven't
don't.
heard that in years, dude. I
I don't
love
know
that
where
term.
I picked up the
Thank you so
term
much.
jonesing, but I did.
That's a nigga term, but that's fucking hilarious. Jones, that's like saying fiending. You fiending for some. I was Jones for that asshole, bro. Some white Tennessean fucking twangy ass asshole.
Apple Appalachian hole. Some
Yeah.
Appalachian.
Oh yeah, the Appalachian. Yeah, Appalachian asshole twang. Jonesing for that shit, bro. I'm so
I
niggas
have
think I'm joking right now. Fuck Acheulean Forests, bro. If you're from Tennessee and you have an asshole, bro, I'm jonesing. I'm gonna Jones for days.
I have no clue
Quit
why
playing.
this episode won't become the most popular and Appalachian asshole becomes like a T-shirt that gets sold.
Oh, dude.
Being an
Yeah,
amazing
I'm the
one.
most controversial person that you've ever had on your fucking channel. I'm not about to hold anybody back. I mean, you might be demonetized for me saying like shit. I use that word very liberally. I'm sorry. I mean, I'm whiter than all the white people I know, and so I'm sorry. Linguistically, at least.
I feel you.
Sorry, I apologize. I apologize, my brother. My other mother. Kiri, this motherfucker sounds like Gary Manilow, and I'm over here just like, gee whiz, golly, Bob, I love it. A little bit of a bologna sandwich on the side, golly, but Beaver, Leave It to Beaver, it's the greatest show that ever existed, golly, I love a little bit of Andy Griffith on the side,
Oh man.
you know.
My macaroni and
I like
cheese
making people
comes
laugh.
from the box.
Yes, I don't even fuck with all that other. I can't fuck with Velveeta. I like Kraft, dude. Where's Kraft?
Powdered
Anyways, yeah.
cheese is mother's milk.
Oh man, I like man, bro. I never had milk that was like I never had breast milk. I want to try that one day. But
I
I'm kind of pissed off I never had breast milk.
I've never tried
Is that
it
whole
either.
D? Is that whole double D? At least that you remember, because we're all breastfed at one point.
Yeah, but it was all we knew. We had nothing to compare it to.
Yeah, bro. I'm about to just go up to a bitch and I'm about to suck her titties while she's lactating.
I mean, to be quite
I'm gonna punch her
honest,
baby.
like a PB&J sandwich has got to be more superior than breast milk, right?
There's nothing more superior than milk, bro. I mean, if it's coming out the straight lactating out the titty, then we have to like investigate further knowledge about this specimen, in order to get a greater, deeper meaning to it.
I'm not about that milk.
Anyway, bro, I'm about that milk, bro. I'm about to punch a baby out of a woman's arms during the coronavirus, sitting on the bench, and I'm gonna be like, let me try some of this, like this is whole D, bro. Niggas lied to me. This is pastured.
This
Mm,
this isn't pasteurized. Shit's skim.
This isn't pastured. This just. This shit's skim. I ain't never, niggas never gonna feel skin though.
Yeah,
Nigga, whole D
you got to
all
go
day, whole
find
double D.
you got to go find one of those keto people, on the keto diet.
Oh yeah,
That's how so
yeah.
you
One
can
of those
ensure
niggas.
that it's got some lipids and fat in it. Something you can really live on. You can just get skim milk if you're
Dude,
just
this.
getting the yoga people.
Yeah, if you're a fucking yoga type bitch, bro. Skirt, 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 skirt. You know,
Skirt, skirt.
take your car and fuck skirt, skirt, skirt. But if I met a dude who was on a keto diet. He's like, bro, I'm done drinking beer. I'm just gonna drink vodka because like that's like I'm on a keto diet. I'm like, bro, we're all alcoholics. Like, shut the fuck up. Just like take it, shove it up your ass. You know what I mean? I want dudes to just be more honest with themselves. Like I want dudes to start doing vodka enemas. Like we're just gonna start doing vodka enemas.
Vodka
Screw,
enemas.
screw.
I don't know about that.
Bro. I need that shit in my bloodstream like I need life. Bro. Like, I'm about to start doing that shit. I was thinking of these transgender women. I was staying at a transgender woman's house one time for like 2 weeks.
Yeah. How
And
did it
she
go?
had like this. So I was with my boyfriend. I'm not exposing myself, bro. I don't give a fuck, dude. I'm gonna die one day. This is gonna be here forever. So God bless America. Anyways,
Right.
I love life and I'm black. Anyways, so staying with this transgender chick,
Mhm.
and my boyfriend bought an enema. It was like one of those like weak ass like Walmart, I don't know, like Walgreens enemas. I'm like, okay, cool. And then man, I was at this transgender chick's house, and she had like this fucking like enema that was like this top of the line, you know, Dizzytron electric enema 2000.
Whoa. Okay.
And this is like this fucking top of the line enema, and I'm just like, oh, I was like, the thing, the part about what I'm trying to say is just like, I was like, I could put vodka in that.
Right.
That's my intention. The point. I was like, dude, imagine shooting vodka up your ass and putting it in your bloodstream. God, you live life forever.
You,
Be happy.
you would
You wouldn't even
literally live
taste it.
life forever.
See, yeah. Um,
I don't know.
I feel like Thumbelina right now.
You feel like Thumbelina right now?
Yeah,
What
man, I'm
what
fucking
does that
stumbling
mean?
right now. I feel like a fucking Russian.
Oh, I feel you. I feel. Okay, so
Okay, so music.
let's what okay, so you said you're starting to make some more music, is that correct? You getting ready to do the whole creative, you know, fucking thing, you know?
I'm getting back. I'm getting back into music again, and I'm trying to be more like a Acheulean Forest.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's just like it's been really hard for me because I'm a broke person who doesn't have any money, and I don't have a lot of stuff or resources. Um, so I have like an entire, like at least 3 albums worth of material that I can't record right now because I don't have access to specific things, especially during quarantine. Like I usually go to like a studio or something, but
I feel
I can't. I cannot. I don't have you know, those kind of resources at this moment. I don't have an actively working laptop. I'm doing everything off of my phone from now. You know, I'm glad this is gonna go down like as a historical thing because like I'm gonna listen to this when I'm like 55 and I'm gonna be like, damn, dude, you're broke as fuck. But yeah, like right now, I'm probably gonna be 55 and still broke as fuck, talking shit at my fucking 23-year-old self and be like, nigga, what the fuck was wrong with you? You didn't get your shit together? Take sips of like fucking like
why didn't you go to Phoenix
Jägermeister.
University?
Yeah, like why didn't I go? Fuck school, dude. That shit is fun for the birds. And nigga that goes to school, bro. Community college. Yeah, fuck that.
Why didn't you go for
Niggas come out of like,
computers?
yeah, bro. Fuck computers, dude. I was like, yeah, I should have just became. I was thinking to myself, I'm gonna become like either Jewish or I'm gonna like have like a job like as like a what do they call like people that go to school for Christian shit?
Like a
Uh,
seminary? Or like a theology degree or a divinity degree?
yeah, theologist. Yeah, yeah, theology. I was gonna go to school for theology and just like scam people for money, like to be like, oh, the Lord said.
I mean, you
Thou
don't really
shalt
need the
be.
degree for that, right? You could just start right now.
Bro, I have family in the church and in
Right.
the funeral home industry, but it's like fucked up to me. They're like telling me like you probably shouldn't do this. I'm like, yo, I want to make money. I'm not doing this because I believe in any kind of like concept of it. But they're like, black Christians. They're like, you gotta believe in the Lord. I'm like, no, I gotta believe in the fucking Benjamin Franklin. Don't fucking tell me like how
You
what
just
my fucking existence or how what my truth is. My truth is the dollar bill. You know what I mean? I'm not like that. I'm not that kind of individual where I'm like money hungry because I like to be simple. Like I don't care about money, but like bro, like if I could make money going to school for theology, just learning about like the Bible and like preaching it to niggas in churches and making money and donations from tips and shit like oh the church would love this if y'all niggas would just give like at least $1,000 to the plate. Remember when I was a kid, bro, we were giving money to the plate. I'm like, why the fuck are we giving money to these niggas have a whole building. Like, why are we doing this?
right.
This shit is like shit, I could do this. Bro, convincing a bunch of superstitious black people about Jesus and shit is like you see how white I sound when I say this kind of shit? Cause bro, I sound like a nigga named Zach. I always tell myself that like bro, if I wasn't
Calm
born in the
down,
suburbs, I had
Zach.
an exotic accent.
Calm down, Zach.
I'm like, bro, dude, like bunch of like fucking like people, dude, like bro, I feel like preach to them and they'll be like, I'll be like Joe Olstein, bro. Like I'll be like Joe Olstein, bro.
Right.
Anyways, yeah, no, yeah, theology school. I was thinking other than going to the funeral home, I'm gonna uh, do some simple job like logging or whatever the fuck. But I'm 23 right now, so I still have a lot of time to figure out what the fuck I'm actually gonna do. But you know, yeah, dude. I mean, like, dude, the church is a game, bro. You don't even have to actually have like Christian values, But as long as it's like kayfabe in wrestling. It's like if you don't break kayfabe, kayfabe for Christian churches is like if you go like if you like say something like against like God or like you have like a contradictory opinion about like your teachings, then people are gonna be like, oh shit. But the
Right.
easiest crowd to convince of any kind of like superstition when it comes to religion is African Americans. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you, dude. Like, I've seen niggas like literally, man, like just growing up in a really like hardcore Baptist family with even like relatives that are like, distant cousins and shit, dude. They're gang banging, killing people, selling drugs, going to prison for home invasions and robberies and stabbing people in their own homes and shit. They go to prison, but they're like, "Hey, bro, don't be using God's name in vain." I'm like, "Shut the fuck up, nigga! Like you went to don't lecture me on morality. Like I didn't go to prison yet because they haven't caught me, but at the same time, don't be lecturing me on morality. I didn't do that to that girl. Anyways, no, but
Right.
anyways, but
Yeah, I think I think that I think they can do the whole kayfabe thing as long as there is either like transparent record keeping or if they actually help communities. I mean, if they actually do help, then shit, go
yeah,
take some money. But they have to do something first. You know what I mean? You got to
my
earn
mom,
the looking over that. You know what I mean? Or looking past that. You got to earn it.
yeah, yeah. My mom rest her soul, but she loved Joel Osteen. But this dude, remember when recent tragic events happened and his this motherfucker owned like a Superdome or some
Oh yeah,
shit,
you
like
wouldn't
mega
open it.
church,
You wouldn't open and let the
and he
poor in.
wouldn't
Yeah,
open
or
it
the
for
people
the
who got
for
their
the
house
fucking
ruined.
niggas,
Yeah,
bro. All these niggas were waiting for Joel Osteen to be their savior, bro.
he got shamed into finally opening the doors to everybody.
Billionaire fucking bro. These motherfuckers, dude. Dude, these. That's why I'm saying this all is a scam, bro. That's Christian shit is a fucking scam. That's why I've That's the Christianity tattooed on my chest.
You literally have that tattooed on your chest?
Yeah, I got Death to Christianity tattooed on my chest when I was like 18 or 19.
Wow.
I fucking hate that shit, dude. Suck my dick, bro. Christians are full of shit. They can eat my dick. I want to go to theology school to be a Christian. I'm gonna wear like a full robe and be like, Jesus loves everybody, and give me your money, and I'll be rich, and then I'll live forever. But I'm not gonna. I'm gonna like the opposite of Joel Osteen. I'll open my church only to black people, and then all white people can like get hit by the tsunami or whatever.
The tsunami.
Nigga, we're not fucking we're Florida. It's not Hawaii.
That'd be a hilarious ultimatum to give them. Like, I'll only save the black people. You white people, you will die in a tsunami.
And we're gonna get on a fucking. I'm gonna build an ark. It's just gonna be sexy. It's gonna be the sexiest. I can see it on hydraulics. It's gonna be like Eddie Guerrero, this motherfucker.
Eddie Guerrero. You can hear it coming from like miles. Suave.
Oh yeah, dude. I lie, I cheat, I steal, I'm like, hell yeah! Rico. No, I'm just kidding, though. I love everybody. We're all human beings, and I'm gonna kill myself one day. Anyways, Jesus loves you all. But no, but seriously, though, yeah, when I started Acheulean Forests, that shit was gay as fuck. Anyways, what you were saying?
So it was, but is it now? Is the question.
No, Acheulean Forest has always been gay. I'm just kidding. It doesn't have any political or anything. It's always about like nature and fantasy. It's not about. There's no bigger picture to it other than like nature worship. Yeah, you know. At first, it was a political. I mean, at first when I first started, I wanted it to be like black, like images, like making like fantasy music for like kids. You know, it's just like I wanted to make fantasy music for anybody, like anybody who's like trying to do like, um, I mean, for me personally, I was a kid who went through a lot of emotional problems, like depression and anxiety, like suicide. So like, I was always the kid. I was watching like Lord of the Rings, Legend, um, just fantasy movies, horror movies. I liked anything that was like completely part of the ether, or like the netherworld, because I wanted to. I didn't like, cause when I was younger, I know this is like a 360 from like what we were just talking about, but like I'm gonna get into some deeper shit right now. But like, I was really depressed. From a young age, it was never like it doesn't just start when I was like a teenager. It was like when I was like maybe like 7, 6 or 7. I was like, oh shit, like I don't like it here at all. Life serves no purpose, But so I dived into headfirst into fantasy movies and novels and Conan the Barbarian, He-Man, Lord of the Rings, Legend. Fuck man, dude. I also loved like dark shit too, like Edgar Allan Poe. I also like artists like what's his name? He made Lost Hearts.
I don't know.
My mind's going blank.
I don't know.
My mind's going blank because I've consumed a little. Lost Hearts.
You've imbibed a little. Let's see.
I've imbibed a little bit. That's the word I'm looking for. Yeah, and also pro wrestling. Pro wrestling more than anything, I think, was because they always had like characters, storylines, these big heroes and like little guys, and like everybody had like a place or a character.
Mm-hmm.
So like more than like fantasy and shit, like I love like wrestling because that was like a amalgamation of like everything. It was like combative. It was also fantasy.
Yeah, I grew up loving wrestling. I loved it, and I mean, I didn't become an adult loving wrestling, but I was a kid and I loved it. Yeah.
I was gonna do. I'm probably gonna be dying like a 70-year-old man talking about like, oh fuck it, AJ. I love AJ Styles. I love CM Punk.
How about CM Punk's
like
how about CM Punk's foray into the UFC? Did you ever get to watch his fights in the UFC?
He sucked. He
Oh, I
sucked
know,
in the
right?
UFC.
I mean,
He sucked
props
ass.
to him for showing up for a fight. I mean, that's hard enough. But he I don't know why he didn't take some amateur fights and stuff first, just to see, if he could do it.
No, because he's supposed to be built in like knowing Muay Thai originally, dude. Like thing is, like his whole character is based around like a Muay Thai mixed martial artist, like this dude who's like literally like skillful in like a lot of like Oriental like trades of mixed martial arts and stuff like that. Um, he sucked ass. It's funny because Jack Swagger had a better run than he did.
Yeah, well, it's because Bellator is feeding him like they're feeding him like cans. I mean, they are. But they know how to do it. They know how to build a name when it comes to something like a freak show thing. Bellator has been putting on freak show fights for the last decade now. It's been pretty entertaining to watch. They did more than a few. Kimbo Slice and Dada 5000 or 500. I forgot which one. That was like the the tip top of the whole freak show thing that they did. But yeah, every so often they pop up with one. Jack Swagger is one of those. Or is it Jack or Jake?
Jake, I mean, his real name is Jake Hager, but I
Right.
mean, his wrestling gimmick name was Jack Swagger.
Yeah.
But it's funny because like Brock Lesnar, Jake Hager, they all were killing it in the UFC when they debuted. But of course Brock Lesnar didn't fucking kill in the UFC. What the
Brock.
fuck is gonna say Brock Lesnar?
Yeah, Brock was a killer. His wrestling was on a whole nother level. And
His amateur dude, his mat wrestling is also fucking tasty as fuck. Dude.
that's what I'm
He,
saying.
he knows how
His
to actually.
his actual wrestling was on another level. It was just ugh. It was not a that was not somebody that you get you out of bed in the morning to go fight, unless you want the money. I guess like that's a lot of money. But shoot, Brock Lesnar is so his stand up
I
wasn't
did.
that evolved, but his wrestling was so damn good.
Yeah, like I did wrestling from the ages of like 10 to 15. I mean, it wasn't that long. I mean, I wasn't the greatest wrestler. I always sucked, but I did mat wrestling. I did tournaments all over Illinois and in the Midwest and shit. Got medals and shit. But like, dude, when I see a dude like Brock wrestle, like mat wrestling, as they call it, so quote unquote amateur wrestling, which is not it's not amateur wrestling. It's it's what professional wrestlers call it.
Right.
But it's mat wrestling. To me, it's always gonna be mat wrestling. But I mean, I did tournaments and shit. But like when I watch a dude, like when I watch the Olympics or I watch like the All State, I don't know what the fuck I call it, but I haven't seen this shit in years. But when I see Brock doing like his mat wrestling kind of like shit, like takedowns, single legs, double legs, shit like that. Like when I see him doing like that or like Greco-Roman kind of shit, I'm like, fuck, dude, this guy will break your fucking back, man.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
you don't want to get on the mat. I mean, and then in MMA where you can punch niggas, oh shit, dude, it's over with, bro. It's fucking over with.
Yeah, I mean his last fight with Mark Hunt, I mean he shut Mark Hunt down, and I was I was pretty mad actually about that fight.
Oh fuck it. You're like, dude, I had money on that shit. What the fuck is going on?
I was pretty mad about that, but yeah, he came out. He had some controversy after that because he essentially juiced for that fight, and the UFC essentially bought him an exemption. To make a long story short,
But yeah,
um,
man, you might have put steroids up your dick, but like at the same time, bro, we can't But at the same time, we're going to.
yeah, I mean they made exemptions for him in there. Mark Hunt tried to sue the UFC after that fight because of that reason, because he found out that
that,
they pretty
that
much
nigga took
helped him get in.
steroids.
Yeah, that sucks. It does. Which if anyone thinks that Brock Lesnar looks like that naturally, I mean, come on.
Man, have you seen his daughter, bro? I don't know how
She
his wife
looks
birthed a
just like
creature like
him.
that. Dude, I don't know how you birthed that creature out of her fucking pussy. I was terrified. I was like, no, dude, this is not funny. This is not cool. I don't even want to look at that bitch ever again. I saw one picture. I was like, okay, we're done.
She looks
Dude, she
like the
looks like a
spitting image of Brock Lesnar.
bro. they have the same fucking build in their face, bro. Physiologically, I was like, no way, Jose, this is not funny. I would not put my dick inside that creature.
Yeah, they. Yeah,
Would you put your dick inside that creature, bro? Break your dick off. Try to have sex with the bitch. Dicks don't even have bones. You
or
just
you'd
break
have to
your dick
deal
off.
with her dad. I mean, just Brock
Oh yeah, he'll
Lesnar.
beat the shit. No, not only you're gonna get your dick broke, but then her dad's gonna be like, "You need to make my daughter orgasm." That tattoo on his back is gonna come alive and fucking beat the shit out of you while Brock Lesnar's beating the shit out of you. Oh no, I'm not going for that at all.
Yeah. Speaking of fights, uh, Habib Nurmagomedov is off of the big card on April 18th. Is it 18th? With Tony
Who
Ferguson, and that breaks my heart. Uh,
was is? Are you talking about UFC?
yeah, this is a championship, the lightweight championship that was.
I'm not that heavy into UFC. I just know a little bit.
This fight is between Habib Nurmagomedov and Tony Ferguson, and this has been in the mix. I think this is the fifth time now. They try to make this fight, and every time something has happened. And this last time, the coronavirus happened, and now Habib's off the card, and I think they're getting Justin Gaethje to fight Tony Ferguson, and it's just heartbreaking because I wanted to see that fight so bad. Everybody did. That was supposed to be the biggest fight of the year, and it's off. He's stuck in Russia. Yeah,
That's fucking crazy.
I am a fanatic for combat sports and shit. So this was like my Super
Okay.
Bowl. Supposed to be.
Oh man. Yeah, there's like some people like NASCAR, some people like UFC.
I see the.
Oh, I'm sorry, dude. No, yeah, dude. I know it's like some niggas like WrestleMania. Like WrestleMania is gonna probably be an empty. Bro, imagine if WrestleMania was a fucking empty arena.
Oh man, it's gonna look. I saw a match without like the audience in it, and it looked really weird.
Oh yeah, they had that fucking the training place or whatever the fuck it's called. The oh, God damn it, dude.
See,
NXT did a better. I mean, excuse me, not NXT. AEW did a better job of like handling that
I'm looking
than
forward to
WWE
seeing.
did. WWE.
I'm looking forward to seeing mixed martial arts fight without an audience. That's awesome. That's like 80s action movie shit
Yeah,
right
I mean,
there.
because it's different, dude. I mean, it's just a shoot. Like, it's just pretty much like just two individuals doing what
Yeah,
they would normally do. I mean, because it's realistic. I mean,
it make
most
it fun.
wrestling is pre-planned. Yeah,
Well, when you watch uh, Pride, which was a mixed martial arts promotion out of Japan,
I
the
love drag queens. Anyways, I'm sorry,
drag
ladies.
queens, yeah.
No, you said you like Pride.
Oh,
I
I
went to
get you.
Pride last year. It was a great. I'm
Yeah,
sorry, I had to
the
do that.
Japanese like audience don't. They're not loud. Like they don't like go crazy
They're
and clap
they're
for.
quiet as fuck. Quiet
Yeah.
as
So
fuck.
watching those Japanese fights in Pride, it's like that pretty much because like no one makes a lot of noise, and I love it. I love it.
Yeah, they're really respectful to the audience, and like, and if certain things pop, they give up applause,
Yeah,
very acceptable
they see like
applause.
the technical stuff and they clap for it. It's really cool that they.
Yeah, because they haven't. Yeah, sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I wish Jordan had told you that I'm the kind of individual who has like a very opinionated. I'm always adding commentary over people's like stories.
That's okay. That's okay. Yeah, I miss or miss I y'all actually I do I miss Pride. That was a cool little promotion, but I like seeing that. So I'm excited to see this fight turn out. Down. I wanted to see a big fight and then no audience. That would have been the best thing ever. But I want to see the whole event though like that. You can actually be able to hear the corner. I am like I'm like Rain Man when it comes to MMA. Like I used to keep I really am like I used to keep
Like gambling.
I used to keep notebooks of like stats that I would make for people, and like I would try to make predictions based on like all my data and stuff, and like I would, yeah, I was really into it like that for a while.
Tom Cruise would be proud.
right? Charles Babbage.
Whatever happened to that motherfucker, dude? Is he still autistic?
You talk about Dustin Hoffman or the real Rain Man?
Rain Man, the dude that
The real one?
he played the fake Rain Man from the movie.
Oh, I don't know whatever happened to him. He just stopped existing
Oh,
in my
fuck,
life. Based on like it's
Oh,
supposed to be based on a real person, and
yeah, Savant.
yeah, Savant, and I think he's dead now, and
Oh man, rest his soul, bro.
yeah,
Hello, Savant. Man, this motherfucker.
yeah. Watch a couple of specials on Savants. So I am somewhat of an authority. No, I've seen a couple
Yeah,
of them.
dude.
Seen they're kind of repeat the same Savants in a lot of those specials too.
I'm a dungeon sense savant. I'm like the kind of dude that dude, I swear to God, I am. Like,
You're a
people are
dungeon
like,
synth savant.
I'm a dungeon sense savant. I just know how to play keyboards because I was trying to. This dude actually paid me like $200. Like, yo, man, teach me how to play keyboards. I'm like, I'll give you 200. All right, cool. And he's like, I'm just hammered, drinking Tito's, and I'm just like, you
Tito.
put your finger here, and then you do that, and then you do this, and then that makes that sound like that. And then he's like, what the fuck are you talking about? That's not how you. It's not music. I'm like, watch me make a whole song right now, and then I made a whole song. And he's like, that sounded beautiful. I'm like, yeah, bro, I couldn't explain it to you in notes. Like, I don't explain it to you in retardation. Like, I'm a musical turd. You know. I just, dude, like for me personally, music is supposed to be like when I see when I see like these 8-year-old autistic kids playing like whole Beethoven pieces, like these little black kids with autism playing Beethoven,
Mm-hmm.
all the movements and everything for like sonatas and shit. Like, man, hell to the kingdom, bro. Niggas don't know what the fuck they're doing, but at the same time, they know exactly what the fuck they're doing. I'm like, dude, I wish I was a fucking autistic fucking dude. I only learned how to play fucking keyboards when I was like 12 or 13. I was like, do 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 do. I thought I was shit.
I didn't learn how
No,
to
bro.
play any kind of piano or keyboard until I was in my 20s. I was a straight up guitarist from the start.
Oh,
And
I suck at guitar so bad.
I started out as well, I mean, like the first 6 months of me playing was just me learning how to do whatever and shit. But then I saw this one guy in like, live, like right in front of me, um, play classical music. And I was like, whoa. So I started taking classical guitar lessons from that guy. And like learned from him for a while. Then I started doing it on my own and just went into guitar from there. But I didn't know how to do anything else but play guitar until I was like 23 or 4 or something like that. I don't know.
Holy fuck, man. Great. I started playing guitar at 9 or 10 years old. And I still suck. At 23 years old, but I can play the shit out of the keyboard. Not maybe to play the shit out of it, but I can do. I'm not no bro, no judgment, dude. Like, dude, everybody, bro. What I have to say to that comment is, everybody learns at their own pace.
This is a judgment free
It's
zone.
not even about how good you are. Yo, dude, we're not judging niggas out here, bro. We're not judging Barry
This is
Manilow.
Planet Fitness of podcasts. There's no judgment here. The lunk alarm go off if I hear some judgment.
Johnny, my man, Johnny, be good, bro.
That's right.
You are the king, man. So we're not fucking out here like acting like dicks, but
Right.
like, my problem is right here is I've never professionally or lesson wise learned any instruments that people think that I'm so called impressive at, and everybody learns at their own pace, dude. And it's not even about how talented or how much you can do on a guitar. It's about how happy the instrument makes you feel when you hold it and what you play, bro. I don't give a fuck how good somebody is. I don't give a fuck how bad somebody is or whatever the fuck bad is in their definition. Dude, something, dude, life is too short to be like, oh, I'm a good or bad guitarist. It's about, does this make me happy when I hold this in my hands and when I touch it, when I create the sounds that I make. You know what I
Well,
mean?
I think
Every,
I think it's well and good to have those holistic skills and stuff, but I really think you
yeah.
only get laid if you know how to play freaking fast. That's it. That's it. You might get a lesbian best friend if you write good songs, but you'll only get laid if you can play breakneck fucking fast. Just really, really,
Bro, just
really
learn how to play.
raw.
Get a really slow bitch and then play All Star for her, and then she'll like suck your dick, dude. You will be a king.
Somebody wants to make. Oh God,
What was going
how
on?
did that song?
I
That
dude, I got
song transcended. It transcended.
I
It's
got so much pussy, dude, playing that song for like retarded emo bitches, dude. Oh my god.
oh my God.
If I could go back to special ed, if I could go back to special ed,
Yeah.
fucking play that shit for some retarded bitches, bro. I'd get
So
my
that
dick
slapped
sucking.
in special ed, huh? I remember
So,
how many late '90s, early 2000s songs had like record scratching on it, like everything did back then.
oh,
They
dude,
slapped that shit in everything.
all those new metal wiggers. I'm sorry, not even black people weren't actually doing that shit, but the wiggers were doing that shit. All these, all these fucking 2003 new metal wiggers were just. What was the name of that band? Red or fucking what was it called?
They would get a fucking like sample and they would just whap whap. They would just work that one sample into a
Oh,
song.
dude.
Incubus did it, and POD,
P-E-H-E-D,
and
P-Head.
who else?
Dude.
Head Planet Earth. There's them. Head P.
What's the, dude, this band Pod. Pod was
Uh,
so fucking like,
PO,
Pod, dude.
POD.
P-O-D, dude. What, did you just say that?
Yeah, I did.
Oh shit, that's what you said. You said POD. I was like, for me, I was like pod. That's what I was thinking of the entire time. You said pod. I was like POD because they're on their album, that Red album. What was the name of that album? It was like a
Yeah,
Red
that
album, and they had like P
everyone
P dot
had
O
a
dot D.
DJ in there. Fucking Limp Bizkit, man.
Yeah, Limp Bizkit, bro.
1, 2, 3 times 2 equals 6. That was a real lyric. He did a
Imagine
math
some.
equation. You know what's going to happen though if you bring this back and if you bring like new metal back, like it's going to go back to the general population.
Remember on that band? It was like, what is the name of it called? They had a song. I never knew. Uh,
Avenue? Are you talking about
no,
wallflowers?
they,
Oh,
no, it was like, um, fuck, dude, it was an alternative. They're so famous. You know this band. I know you know it, but like I can't get the lyrics right in my head. It's a shame you never knew.
oh man. Fuck.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes, never knew. Yeah. Oh shit.
No, you probably don't.
I
You're
do.
like
I
you're like
do.
yeah.
Um. Oh shit. It's like. Is it wild?
I'm gonna look it up right now.
Is it Wild Colonials? Is it that? Is that the one? No, no, it's not.
No.
Avenue. Mazzy Star, fade into you. That's what it was. That's what it was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, motherfucker. They say, yeah, you know what the fuck is going on. Listen, okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Magic Stars fade into you, bro. I was watching a live
And
performance.
tell yeah. Yeah.
Fade into you. It's a shame you never. So, Magic Stars, like, so the there was some special needs kids in the background, right? So I was checking, I was peeping that, bro. I was like, okay, so like, what's you? That was a joke.
There was I was drinking.
they didn't acoustic. They're doing an acoustic set. They're doing an acoustic set, right? And then like there's like a viral video of them doing an acoustic set. And then there's like some like there's like one of those like special needs like um uh schools or whatever that
Right.
got like front row tickets or whatever.
Uh,
And then I was trying to tie that into the joke. I was like, dude, I'm gonna start doing Mazzy Star covers to give me some crippled pussy.
I
No, but
feel.
okay, no, I'm sorry. But I'm gonna drop this fucking joke right now because it's just kind of making me feel uncomfortable.
Yeah,
I'm
I
like,
mean,
okay, Jody, the joke has gone on too long.
it is what it is, man.
You get it,
But
dude. I'm just okay. Before I drop it, bro,
yeah, before.
all I'm saying is this, bro. You ain't never gonna have a bitch who slobs like a bitch who slobs on your knob like corn on a cob, like a special needs bitch. Anyways,
Right. Sucking nice and leafy while you listening to Corn's Life is Peachy.
I can't take it. I can't deal. All right, okay. Um, so no, okay. I have a question for you. I
Yeah,
have a question for you.
I love
So how
questions.
did you hear about me? How did you hear about me?
How did I hear about you? Somewhere on Facebook is where I first heard about you, and then yeah, that's you have to be where I
So you,
discovered you. Yeah.
so you've heard my music before?
Hmm.
Oh, sweet man. Yeah, yeah. So you heard Acheulean Forests. You were like, oh shit, this dude's like a or something.
That's exactly what I thought.
No, no, he did not think that. He's a very beautiful human being. I love Jonathan. He has a sexy ass fucking black R&B voice. Check this out, everybody. I'm gonna fucking cover for you, bro, because I love your voice so fucking much, dude. You
I
are
I
you are
appreciate
you are
it.
good at what you do.
But yeah,
This man is a
I found you on Facebook, and then from there, I mean, there's not a lot of like dungeon synth portals. It's like Facebook, YouTube, and I know there's like a
band camp.
website, yeah, and Bandcamp, and then there's like a website of like old school dungeon synth forum type thing, and that's it.
Yeah, it's very aggressive. Man, full of white kids that pimples on their face talking about like, oh, fuck, why aren't there any Dungeons and Queens? It's like, bro, because
I
there are women in Dungeons and they make better Dungeons than most men, dude. Women make better Dungeons than most men.
I think that I've seen slightly more women in dungeon synth, at least as producers, than in some other genres. To be quite honest.
People think I'm a fucking misogynist, dude. But like, literally, I like to play the misogynist. I like to be like, oh, women are fucking monkeys. But like, honestly, dude, like, a lot of women musicians are the reason. No, seriously. Like, I mean, I know like people know me by that. It's funny because the majority of like my friends in real life and in actual reality are like women in
Mm-hmm.
my corner. But like, we like just when it comes to like music wise, most well the reason why a lot of the reason why I love music or metal for that matter. I'm gonna be honest with you. The reason why I love most metal in Dungeon Sense is because a lot of the women that were in the genre that inspired me to be like, oh shit, I can like I can make music as good as her, Like she's like she makes music that makes me want to be great. You know what I mean?
I actually do know what you mean. A lot of like the music that I put out one album of my own music that wasn't like genre related to something like vaporwave or dungeon synth. Um, and like one of my biggest influences is Fiona Apple. I have to say, as far as like
Hell yes.
a lot of her vocal lines and things like that. Like, oh, that's like heavily her. her songwriting structure and things like that have heavily influenced me. I've used her as a yardstick for a long time, coming up as a songwriter. So yeah, I
Yeah,
completely understand.
yeah, dude. For me, it's like Slitvana Nia Neo. She's a Slavic artist, and Anita Aglin. She's a Scandinavian artist, as well as um, Ingrid Alefison. She's also a Scandinavian artist, a part of another Norwegian band, and
Oh, I see.
you
So
know,
you're just gonna make me look like a basic bitch because I just
no, I'm
mentioned,
not.
for example, then you're like Hinga Danga Durgan from Sweden and Hoopla Doopla from Norway. I dig her, and like I'm all like I like Paula Cole and Fiona
Dude,
Apple and and Gwen
dude,
Stefani.
I'm just, dude, bro. I prefer women's vocals sing clean wise, dude. I hate male vocals. Honestly, like not even my own vocals. I think
I
that women have more angelic, more beautiful, tangible. And I know I got into an argument with a trans women over this because they're like, well, not all women can sing in certain pitches. I'm like, dude, a lot of my favorite musicians are trans women that sing in their own voices. Whatever you sound like, if you're a woman, I don't care, but like whatever you've created that makes me feel like powerful or inspired is going to be like it's gonna move me. I booked a trans woman that I loved her music because I heard her voice and I said, my God, my God, my JR voice, Jim Ross voice, my God, I was thinking to myself like, I love her voice. She sounds angelic, beautiful, perfect, tonefully on point, aesthetically, lyrically, sonically. Everything is on point. It's perfect. I don't care what whether you're a trans woman or you're a cis woman. I don't care about your tonality. If you're a woman and you've moved me in some way, like personally, like when it comes to music, then I'm going to feel some type of way about it, whether it be like I want to try to attempt to create something in that visage, or I want to copy that, because I get very inspired by a lot of, and people think I'm this misogynistic asshole who just like who talks so much about like um, how women are like this or that. Like I don't. It's just really ironic. With majority female friend group, pink short shorts kind of individual, and like I'm just like I'm not a dick.
I
I want to be very clear. If this interview is gonna clear up anything, I'm not a dick, dude. I like to just be a dick. Cause I'm a dick. I'm a dick, but I'm not like a misogynistic dick. That's not my main forte.
right.
My main forte is a nihilistic humans all should die kind of dick. But I mean, if when it comes to music, women are like my. I guess I have to admit it right now, but more so than men, women have inspired me to pursue music. And effeminate gay men also are my biggest inspirations. Judas Priest, Frankie Mercury, uh, Freddie, excuse me,
Frankie
sorry,
Mercury.
Frankie Mercury of King was my biggest inspiration.
I
Frankie Mercury
I
of
adore
King
Jeff
was
Buckley. I love his voice.
Jeff
He was
Buckley.
one of my favorite. Actually, my most favorite voice I have to say is Jeff Buckley.
Oh my God! Speaking of gay, I'm sorry. Speaking of, I know I turned into a just immediately. But speaking of gay artists, dude, my biggest inspiration of all gay artists probably has to be Gall of Gorgoroth. I love him.
Yeah,
I love him
I
to death. He's
I,
my hero.
I don't think I have
Gall is my hero.
a favorite gay artist. I don't know.
Like, I don't know if I'm. For me personally, I just like you always do you have a favorite white artist? What is it?
Favorite
What I
white.
won't
I
do for
think my
love.
my favorite white artist would have to be Bach.
Baba
It would be Bach. It's Bach. I would have to say my favorite white artist is Bach, hands down. That's an easy one, I would say.
Yo, let's get controversial. Okay, so let's
Let's get
let's do favorite artist by race. I want
okay.
to do this because this shit makes my dick hard. Okay,
Oh, let's
so
do it.
all right. So you said Bach, my favorite white artist. It's fucked up because all my favorite artists are white. I know it's probably bad for a black person, but Okay, let me see. My favorite white artist? Pete Johansson.
Okay.
He's a violinist from Norway. My favorite black artist would be George Walker. He's one of the greatest black American classical composers of all time.
I mean, let's see. If I have to go, my favorite black artist, I'm going to have to.
Okay.
Uh, it's a toss up. It's not like a huge list. It's just a toss up. There's two. Stevie Wonder.
It's not a
Oh
huge
no, no,
list. It's
it's
like
not. No,
there's
there's
two
it's a
lists.
huge list. But if I'm going to talk about top, I'm going to talk about. There's only two at the top for me, and I would
Okay.
say, um, yeah, I say that probably either like Wes Montgomery or it would be Stevie Wonder. It would be one of those two.
Oh, that is fucking dude.
It's
Just
the
go with Stevie
guitarist to
Wonder. I
me
love fucking.
for Wes Montgomery. It's just the guitarist to me. When I was a jazz guitarist in my early 20s and shit. So like like when you do um when you start like seriously playing jazz stuff, you've got to like listen to his stuff and Charlie Parker music and that kind of stuff. Like it's all that's the basic gauntlet of guitar for jazz stuff. But so I mean that's a personal thing for me. Stevie Wonder, like Songs in the Key of Life, is like my favorite Stevie Wonder album, but it's a close with a few other ones. But yeah, Stevie Wonder
You
was.
know what? I'm sorry. Yes,
No, go ahead,
please.
go ahead, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. I cut you. No, 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 no. Please.
I have
No,
no
please.
idea what I
Let me
was
hear
even
what you have to say.
saying, to be quite honest.
You said some of the Stevie Wonder songs in the key of life was something.
That's my favorite album of Stevie Wonder, and that's an amazing album to me. Sonically, it's an amazing album to me. And then to know that like he fucking performed most of that himself, and drum wise and things like that. And I've listened to like people talk about. I got to play with this one guy one time. His name was Stack. Yeah, that was his name was Stacy, but his name was Stack. That was his nickname. And he played with.
STACC. He was a nigga.
Do what?
No, I was making a joke because you were like his name was Stack.
If
C's instead of a K.
but if you mean he was African American, then he was. Uh, but yeah, he played for he was a keyboardist. And he played for Prince a couple of times, not a couple of times, like a couple of sessions, and he had a bunch of cool stories about Prince. But he was talking about Stevie Wonder and like all this like this production gossip and stuff that he'd heard out and like knew about Stevie Wonder and shit. And he was talking about how musically fluent he is. He just grabs shit and plays it and just at a high level, grabs another thing, plays it at a high level. And he also said Prince was a thief. His music
I mean,
thief.
man did cocaine, bro. Like, what the
He's
fuck is
he said that Prince, like if he heard something that you did and he liked it, it was going to be on his
you
album.
just take it.
Yeah, he just take it. It was just, and what are you going to do? You're going to say Prince stole it? That was in
No,
the
the
'80s, man.
Prince.
No, you
Yeah,
don't get.
dude. Prince was like Jesus Christ, dude, in
Mm-hmm.
the 80s.
After
You don't
Purple
fucking
Rain, that
suck
was it.
Jesus. Purple rain. Ooh. Do you know, okay, I'm gonna say this. I definitely was saying that George Walker's my favorite black musician, but I definitely have to put Luther Vandross up there with him. For the rest of my mom's soul, dude, she raised me on all of his albums, bro. Since the day I was birthed to the day that she died, I've heard all of his discography because that was like religious. Like she was really religious about Luther Vandross. You know, Dance with My Father. You know, Never Too Much. No, that's the made hits, but like, dude, I could really deep. Oh my god, dude, Gap Band. Oh fuck me, dude. Oh man, I'm sorry. I read about so much nigga music. I'm sorry. I keep on saying nigga music. I keep African American. Gee whiz, golly, Bob. Negro American music, soul music, if I must say so myself. Dude,
Soul
James
music.
Brown, Rick James. fucking.
I remember the Neo Soul, and I loved that. I loved when Neo Soul was
Oh,
big.
Neo Soul was so good,
I
dude.
loved that. I loved that era in R and
Erica
B.
Badu,
Yes, I
dude.
loved Erica
Erica
Badu.
Badu,
Um,
fuck, dude.
yeah, Jill Scott, and I loved
Jill
that whole.
Scott.
I love that whole
Holy
era, man. That
fuck.
was a good era of R and B. And
Top day, did top da, did top da, top did da. Oh, fucking Lauren Hill.
yeah, Lauren Hill. Yeah, man,
Lauren fucking Hill, dude.
that was an amazing little moment that happened. Even the
Yeah.
commercials were
And that was like,
even the commercials were like Neo Soul. Like they're during those times. I was watching on YouTube the other day, like what was I watching? I think it was like some shit like Chappelle show or something, and it had commercials on it from like Comedy Central from like 2005, and it was playing like commercials that were playing like Neo Soul. It was like Budweiser shit. I was like, damn, I didn't even know they did that back then. I didn't realize that.
oh fuck, dude. I remember when I was a child, dude. I was like 11 or 12. I would sneak my mom. She had both Chappelle season 1 and 2, and I would sneak the DVDs on like my DVD player, bro. We had like this in my house that I lived in. We had this place called the computer room. She had like she had a section called like there was like a section on like the DVD rack that was like adult, you know. But anybody can go in the computer room, you know,
Right.
go get in there. So we go in there, and then it was like all comedy on one. It was a black comedy. It was like Bernie Mac, Dave Chappelle, um, Eddie Murphy, and it was mixed with the stand up shit and the skit shit and the shit with the movies, like Sherman Clump, Meet the Clumps and
Yeah.
Nutty Professor, Black Nutty Professor. Um, damn, dude, I'm about to cry. I remember sneaking out Eddie Murphy stand up, Martin Lawrence stand up, um, Dave Chappelle stand up, and Dave Chappelle season 1 and 2. And I remember just binging on these DVDs, just like obsessing. Like, I was a kid. My mom never knew that I was like sneaking out these DVDs and shit. Like, it's so old, dude, from like 2000. Because Chappelle season 2 was in 2004.
Something like
So like
that,
that
right?
was
Yeah.
fuck me, dude. I was like a kid, but this was fucking like 2007 or 2008 when I was watching these DVDs.
Right.
I was born in 1996, so I don't even remember how old I was. Nah, a little bit racist, but so I remember just being like, fuck, dude. I remember just like what, just like copying Dave Chappelle. Like, Oprah, Oprah. He's like, I
Oh,
plead the fifth.
yeah, we got her pregnant.
Yeah, when he got her pregnant,
Yeah.
you remember that? He's like, Oprah. He's like, Dave, I'm pregnant. He said, you pregnant?
One of my favorite
The
ones is
fucking
when like he's at dinner and he's thinking about like he's like in his head and he's thinking about like what happened if he would have became a rapper. And he was like, and I have to have a gimmick. And he had on like those goat legs with the leg paint. He's all like, that was the best.
dude.
That was the fucking best. Oh my god.
That shit was so stupid.
That was good. That
And,
was
he,
great.
and then he was like, and then they had what was his name? Nigga from, why the cheese so good? And he was fucking, motherfucker. What would happen if the cheese at a cheese party? I forgot what his name was, but he's the dude with the dreads. He had a talk show. He said, "Why the fuck the cheese so good?" I remember the beer commercial one. He was like Samuel
The Samuel
Jackson,
Jackson,
Samuel Adams.
yeah. Yeah. I remember the making the band
Samuel,
one. Dylon,
oh, make,
Dylon, Dylon.
he's like, I'm Dylan. I'm Dylan. Oh man, that's where like a Cambodian brazier. I didn't tell niggas to go give me some Cambodian breast milk. I'm a Cambodian immigrant on the streets of New York.
Oh
And
man.
they're like,
Yeah,
breast milk,
that was
you make
hilarious.
my day.
Saturday Night Live just doesn't like do it for me. It just never. It just
No, it
has.
doesn't,
No,
dude. I
it's
don't agree.
not into it. Not into it. I can't get
I mean, I don't disagree.
right.
But
I feel what you're saying. I feel what you're saying. But yeah, like, so how's the pandemic going for you on your side of the Central Mountain?
There's a bunch of white people outside walking their kids around and talking to their dogs and making out with their cats, and we're all decent. You know, we're in quarantine, but we're not really in quarantine. We're
Right.
just chilling, fucking our kids, eating our bats, and slat slat, as Roddy Rich would say in his native tongue in Ugandan. Um, I'm just kidding, dude. No, I was really, dude. I'm so fucking pissed off. I was just trying to walk to the store the other day and
Yeah.
just, saw family. I have really bad vision, so I thought it was like a bunch of niggas, on like the corner. It was just a bunch of white people with their like toddlers, walking them to the. I don't know what the fuck they were going or what the fuck they thought they were doing, but they're walking their dog and the kid.
Right.
I was just like, I'm just trying to go to the store, and then this bitch has the audacity to look at me like, what is your deal? Like, it's like, bruh, I'm walking forward. You're gonna turn at this corner where these benches are. You're gonna walk the other direction. I mean, in my head, I was saying this. I'm just like, please walk the other direction because we're all trying to avoid this, right? COVID-19, COVID, ACOM music, 19, right? So,
They was created to
so
put everybody back in their home so they can take us over. That's why it's
no,
made.
yeah.
So they can go take our
Hey man, that
goods.
Tennessee just came out right out of you.
Of
No, but
course, it's
yeah,
okay.
no,
Two
dude,
years, Jesus is gonna come back, so don't worry about it. I
I
won't bow
man,
down to the new world order.
if your tail comes back, what I'm saying, I don't like me and nigga, but at the same time, that fella's kind of funny. I'll stay inside for some COVID-19, some Chappelle show. Anyways, no, really, how things are going with me is just like, I'm chilling. I don't know. I'm working, but like things are tight. I don't know. We have quarantine, but we don't have like we're not like you don't have curfews. You don't have any specific other than the fact that certain school and jobs are like not,
Right.
a lot of schools and stuff are out of commission.
Yeah, I've been trying to take advantage of this time of for productivity and stuff, and try to crank out this label and such. I've got all my stuff ready for this next release. Finally, all lined up, and I'm going to be making the announcement and everything probably next week, and then run with it, see how it goes. I'm excited because I want to try to do a re-release of one of my albums on vinyl and see how that goes, like a
So
crowdfunded one.
so that visual thing that you sent me, that was part of your your project.
That's on that's going to be the first album that gets released on this new label, and that's from someone out of Toronto, by the name of
Okay.
Walking Wittershins. That's her artist name. And I designed everything else. Like, I designed the cover and the package and everything else, and then, like, we're gonna see how it goes because I'm gonna make a spell kit. There's gonna be a book. I have a friend who's a writer, so he's whipped up a little book, like a spell book for pagan, neo pagan
Yeah, dude, that's what I was
spells.
saying. That's what I was saying. It had like fucking like straight up like what's the name of that fucking artist from the '90s? The goddess. I forgot what her name is, but I'm gonna send you a link later on. But there was, yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say. I was like, dude, that looked like really like wicked neo pagan like kind of like vibes.
Yeah, she's like a violently, like, zealot pagan, and she's all like Wiccans are lukewarm and all this other shit. She's totally like pagan kind of person. So yeah,
Dude, I have some shit to send you that you should send her. I don't know who you're talking about, but like, I mean, I don't know who she is personally. I've seen what you showed me. I think that, dude, those vibes are like heavily like, she's like very much, not inverted. So, pentagram type individual who
Right.
believes in like the the real principalities of paganism. I think that there's a band called the fuck man dude.
Is it called Enigma? And is it called
No no
The
no no
Return
no
to
no no.
Innocence?
It sounds like straight up like neo pagan like rock music. It's like
Yep.
doo 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 doo. Sorry, starter, Nia Kali, Anita Carter, and I, it's like
My
straight up like feminist, like pagan shit.
my my wife is like a big portion Native American, like a big huge portion. And well,
Yeah.
I mean, we've been together so long that we pretty much refer to ourselves as married, but we're not like legally married. But we
Hey
she
man,
has,
dude, love is love.
yeah, it's true. It's absolutely true. Every time like there's an Indian that comes on a movie, I always turn around and I'm all like, "What did he just say?"
She's like, shut the fuck up.
so, I'll always be like, "What did he just say?"
Hey, motherfucker, that's a
Oh,
completely different language from
it's
fucking
great.
Navajo. Or Algonquin. This motherfucker, that's Algonquin. I don't know what the fuck Algonquin's is.
I bought a tomahawk one time, and that was a load of jokes too when I got that. So that was its own
Really, dude, I'm about to go hunting.
big Santa-sized bag of jokes that came with that one. That was great.
Yeah, she was just like, yo, man, like, yeah, that's chill. That's Algonquin. That's fucking Navajo. Nigga, the
You know
fuck are you
what's
doing?
crazy is that if she'll tell people, she'll be like, not like off the bat, but like if you get to know her, she'll tell you eventually, like somewhere in the conversation about that, like how her she's Native American, and there's always someone who has like red hair or something like that, and they'll be like, "Oh, me too," and I'm like, "What?"
Yeah, it is. It's the blonde girl named Brittany. It's like, dude, I have like 10%.
They'll be like,
Like,
"Me too." I'm like, "You have freckles and red hair. What do you mean?"
I have like engine in me. There's just like engine. It's like motor engine, but like it's not like real engine. They're just like engine,
I've got
like vroom
Jeep
vroom
Cherokee
engine.
in me.
Like, I got Jeep Cherokee.
I know at least 2/3 Jeep Cherokee inside.
Yeah,
Um,
bro.
but yeah, like
It's like
it
SP
gets
SP Jeep
hilarious,
Cherokee. I got some Chevy too,
right?
some Ford as well. I don't know.
So,
I'm a mixture of a bunch of different races. Okay, Brittany, you're great. Awesome. You get it. You can suck a lot of dick. But
yeah, it gets hilarious though. Like people get really like they everyone apparently has it, and it's very very funny because they don't look at all like anything like it. And I don't mean like that's the only way to have
oh yeah,
Native
no,
people.
there's white. The tribal Pocahontas have been so interracially mixed. They look like a bunch of fucking white people, even though you can visibly tell that they have like Asiatic or Mongoloid features. Um, I mean, if we're going to talk racially speaking, like from a scientific standpoint, they don't. They look like a bunch of you know. I'm sorry that didn't sound right. They look like a bunch of fucking Jews. I'm just kidding. No, they don't. they look like Asian. They look Native American. That's the perfect way to say
You
that.
know,
I guess if you're going to be
do
a
you know there's
proper
a
individual.
great deal of missionaries who, when they first met Native Americans from all over, from this different points and different languages, the English speaking and Spanish speaking, and they were in their they've all made mentions in their diaries somewhere about how beautiful they were, like how different
Yeah,
looking that
dude.
they
God
looked and how
damn,
gorgeous they
dude.
were. And they said that the men
Native.
were like beautiful like women. That's what I mean, a lot of more than a few of them that said that they were like that they had like feminine qualities to their faces and stuff. So I mean,
Because they're fucking sexy as fuck, bro. They're majestic as fuck with them damn spears and shit. Long black hair, sexy
speaking of
ass, chinky ass eyes, brown tan skin, abs and shit, holding spears and shit, talking about some Winjinjin, Sashikwa, Anawa,
speaking
Batutwa.
of spears, they found out that just now they proved that like Neanderthals could throw spears and they hunted at a distance. I just read that in some journal.
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot about, yeah, dude. Dude, Neanderthals were just like modern white people. They were like raping, and then they like did a little bit of hunting, and then they were eating some chicken. They saw some nigger and shit, and just chilling, having a good time,
I wonder what happened
having a funky
to
good
them.
time, as James Brown would say.
I wonder what happened to them
Dude, they
in all
just.
reality.
Do you want me to tell you what happened to them?
I mean, I know people have
Uh,
Neanderthal genes in them. So, I mean, obviously they bred
they
in
didn't
somewhere.
complete. I mean, that's the entire white race is all like north of like northern Europeans have like a trace of Neanderthal genes. Dude, the thing about Neanderthals is it's not like they were like subhumans who didn't know, like, didn't have a culture or language. They had a lot of fundamental elements of their culture that were very much sustainable about their society, how they would go about morality, rules, government. It wasn't just ooga booga, eat a fly, rape your wife. It was more. It was They had burial sites. They had a lot of different intricate ideas of and aspects of a culture that a lot of people don't want to honestly bring to light because that would go against the narrative that Neanderthals were different to you know just other species.
Yeah, no, I mean, I know that they found jewelry that they've made and pigments and things like that. So, yeah, I wonder where that came from. I wonder the whole idea of like Neanderthals were like upright apes that just, you know what I mean, that like walked around and stuff. Like, I wonder where that came. Was it just
Um,
like an
it was
anciently
just
held
in the
belief?
beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just in the beginning. People were really ignorant on like science and how specific aspects of life work. Because a white man in England in 1870 would not look at himself and say, well, back in the year of 10,000 BC, they weren't wearing coats like me, and they weren't having a mustache like me. They didn't have a monocle. They didn't
A
behave in
monocle.
what we would see, yeah, as civilized society in a lot of Western European countries. Um, so a lot of this was adopted from fable that due to ignorance and how certain ancient cultures, because without like access to specific resources or understanding of how society worked at a more primitive time, you're gonna adopt oh well, they could not possibly be as knowledgeable in specific things as me because they're from a more primitive and ancient time, but they had a sense of culture and preservation.
Right.
Um, they just because they weren't wearing fucking top hats and walking with canes down the streets of London or fucking Luxembourg doesn't mean they didn't know who they were or what they loved or what they knew or what they were born to. A lot of this misconception was very defunct back in the early 90s when they had more research and uncovered that a lot of Neanderthal cultures, and I say cultures because it wasn't just Neanderthal culture, it was many different tribes, many different aspects of life that they had understood agriculture and familial values, burial ceremony, celebration, birth. They These people had an understanding of the timeline and love and length and the understanding of basic common things that we today as what we would call upright man or the modern man still hold in tradition and value today, but they just had came from more of a primitive time. They didn't have fucking gadgets or anything like that, so they're not gonna just like in you would go to London in 1870 and ask if you could text somebody or something like that. It's a different era, it's a different time, but at the same time, their predecessors, I mean their prior folk did have more primitive and had less developed anatomy and sense of culture, but still nonetheless, they all understood community, environment, culture, regulation, government, and everything else that embodies what we know as modern humans. So I don't think that it's really that far fetched to think that but with everything, like with the Vikings nowadays, like in the '70s, we thought Vikings wore horns on their heads. We now know that they never wore horns on their heads.
Right.
It's just a matter of digging up the artifacts, understanding the culture deeply, more deeply, and getting the facts right instead of coming to assumptions or thinking of or fabricating myths.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of that to dig through when it comes to narratives, general narratives. I think I've always suspected that there was a much more ancient civilization, and maybe it had its own religion or something like that. I felt like that there is some sort of a thread, philosophically and symbolically, from West Africa all the way to Greece. You can find like this kind of thread.
Yeah, a lot of similarities.
A lot of some really uncanny similarities, right? I mean, that's the interesting part, is where it's like, damn. I mean, there's a lot of similarities that are very like idiosyncratic, but they're very similar too. I mean,
I'm gonna
you can look at well, that's a whole nother thing. But but the thing is, like, yeah, I think there's probably something that came before anything that's developed now that is what created the framework for a lot of diverse beliefs that would come afterwards. I think so.
um I'm gonna add this. I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but in countries like Australia with the Aborigines or like places like Papua New Guinea, which are like on the Isles and the Pacific, there's like a tradition. This is fucked up. This is probably fucked up to say this, but like in ancient Greece, where there was a tradition where young boys had to have sex with like a grown mass man um, before they went out hunting. Like just like in North American culture, like when you look at like all the Native Americans, like they had to go through like a spirit journey, whatever. Like in Papua New Guinea and in Greece, there was like a tradition where like a older man had to like have sex with a boy first, and then have to send them off to go on to their vision quest or whatever the fuck, to go hunting for some seek some deeper knowledge, which is also another trait in a lot of like Southeast Asian countries, which is kind of interconnected with the Pacific.
That's a
Like
fine habit to
this,
do.
I mean, like, dude, like, when I first learned about that shit, I was like, fucking Jesus Christ, dude, what the actual fuck? But I'm like, that shit's ancient. Like that was like their whole thing, and they do that in like West African religions too, like especially places like Ghana, Uganda, uh, um, Senegal. Was like a whole thing was like, yeah, in order to be a man, you have to fuck first, and then you have to fucking go hunt for like fucking some get high, and then they send you off on a vision quest,
Right.
which I think is like it's really primitive and like kind of fucking weird, but kind of weird. Like nigga, that's weird. No, but like like when I think about that, I'm like, dude, like they did that in like several different continents historically that were completely different places. So there has to be some like what the fuck is the link between all this?
Well, I think I think that specifically, like my experience with that kind of stuff is like in studying West African religion. There's a lot of, in my opinion, I'm not an expert, so there you go. But there's a lot in common with like the pantheon of Greek gods and things like that, to like say the Orishas, or what's called the Loa of like
Oh, I see
Nigeria,
what
things
you.
like that.
Oh, I see what you mean. I'm sorry. I know. I totally blown shit out.
No,
I probably
it's
should.
okay. It's okay. I mean, you know, it's an interesting thing, because it's not just like, well, they have gods for things and they have gods for things. They both have this idea where like the earth was some way, and then it changed, and these beings were given charge of the world as we know it now. And this one represents this and that one represents that. And that's, sort of like how both of them see it in a really general way, I guess you could say. Specifically, like the Nigerian, West African Ifa
I
religion.
mean, yeah, every fucking group on Earth has had that like pagan shit, like where they're like, oh, like the thunder is this, so this is you know, this is I forgot the name for the Orisha. For
Shango,
this is
Shango,
Shango,
yeah, the Orisha
Shango,
of
yeah,
thunder
Shango,
and
yeah, the god
fire
of
and
thunder.
black cats and
You know, Aja is the goddess of the forest, and Oshun is the goddess of the sea. Oh, excuse me, the god of the sea.
she's the Oshun is the goddess of the creek.
Yeah,
Yamaya,
this, you know, pretty much
uh,
the water
uh,
vendor.
Yamaya is the Orisha of the ocean, who is sisters
Yeah.
with Oshun. And
Damn, what the fuck? How do you know so much shit more than fuck you, man?
I was taken in by
I've been,
Santeria
I've been,
and then West African Ifa religion.
dude, this Santorini, what did you live Brooklyn for like fucking 12 months or some shit? Like, what the fuck is wrong with
I'm
you?
from Virginia
Pissing
Beach,
me off.
and there's a lot of
Oh,
people.
Florida, so you're
No,
fucking Haitians.
Virginia Beach,
Oh, where
and
the fuck is that?
it's in Virginia.
Okay, so you're from Florida. Okay, anyways.
But there's a lot of Cubans and Puerto Ricans and like there, and there's a lot of like Santeria over there, and
Motherfucker said Oshun is the god of the creek
yeah,
next to the goddess of the ocean. I've been thinking of Oshun. Oshun is a dude.
Oshun is a female.
No, Oshun is a dude, bro.
Oshun's a female. She's a lover of Shango and had two children, which are
What the
the
fuck is wrong with this?
Ibeyi twins, I think they're called. Yeah, and
What the fuck is the name of that dude again?
Shango.
What do you want to do for love?
Oh,
No,
Bobby Caldwell.
Bobby Caldwell, calm down. Pissing me off. No, that's fucking cool though, dude. That's fucking tight, dude. Yeah. I like that. I like that. I'm over here looking at my message to the Black Man Nation of Islam book right now, dude. Thinking like, no. I grew up with black nationalists in my family. I grew up in a Black Panther family, dude. Like, is this really weird hearing this? I'm sorry, dude. I'm not normal. It's like listening to it's like a Klansman listening to like a black man talk about like the history of like clanery. It's just like, oh, fuck, what? And then
Dude,
you did what on a what night? It's on a horse. Nathan Bedford Forrest did what? I never heard that shit before in my life. I guess he did it. Fuck me. Anyways, I know, dude. I respect the shit out of you, dude. Dude, you really been studying your shit, bro.
I I was uh, I was really into it. I was a practitioner of it, and I really wanted to. I was taken in by it. I don't know. It's a long story, to be quite honest. It started when I was a
Me and you are
teenager.
gonna go to fucking West Africa one day, and you're gonna play the fuck. What's the name of that fucking instrument? Don't even say it, bro, because I'm about to get mad if you fucking say it. It's like a string. It's like a harp. It's like an African harp, but I'm too wasted right now to think about the name of it. I know you already know what I'm fucking talking about. I'm really pissed off. You're like, oh, you mean the Ushibuchu, the Suosaka Juju? Be like, man, what the fuck? Yeah. This bald headed white over here speaking facts. I'm over here pissed. Yeah, let's go to fucking Australia and talk about didgeridoos and shit. I have one, bro. I
I always
have
wanted
one.
to have one.
Dude, I have a patch of Africa with red, white, red, black, and green on it right now, and I'm looking at it right now. I'm just like thinking, I'm just like, man, this motherfucker probably is part of the black. This nigga's wearing a face mask. Talking about some, oh shoot, is a fucking nigga or a bitch. I'm like, yeah, it's a bitch. That's a nigga. What the fuck am I talking about? I'm more white, but that's where we have our differences because I'm more whiter than you and you're more blacker than me in my knowledge. So we can all have a fiesta about it. I want a ring pop right now. God damn it!
A ring pop. I haven't had one of those in forever.
Dude. I had one, dude. I just tried one for the first time since I was 10 years old, and that's god, my mouth was just like I was having sex, bro. It was like sex on the beach.
On the beach.
On the beach, not even
What?
in the beach.
On
It was
top of
on
the
the beach.
beach.
He was floating on the water.
On top of
He
the
was on top of
entire
the water
beach.
like Jesus. You were
Well,
cool. What are you drinking, bro? I want to start now. You
I,
recording me?
I'm drinking water, and I took a little bit
Oh,
of kratom, a little bit of it.
bro, I haven't, dude, bro. I have not done that shit. You're about to start. No, probably not gonna start tripping because you said you took well with it. But
I'd say that
bro,
the stuff that
I
you
took.
get online is better than what you would get from like a gas station or a head shop. I would say that.
Yeah, the shit I got online, dude. My homie gave it to me, bro. I had a dream. Somebody stole my dick, so I had to go fly into like the
Naturally,
ether
naturally.
to find my to dude. You ever have like a dream on kratom, bro? Like a fuck ton of kratom, like a fuck ton of kratom. Someone stole my dick, bro. I turned into a superhero, like the Hurricane, and I fucking was flying through like the universe, trying to find my penis, bro. And I found like seven snakes, a tarantula, and a Jewish guy named Phil. And then I had this to get my penis back, bro.
Right.
And then when I tried to put my penis back on, it was made of Play-Doh, so I couldn't put it back on. So I was pissed off. But
I feel you. Yeah, I've
then I woke up.
I take a I take kratom before I work out. That's my favorite thing to do with kratom.
Oh, God.
I like to take kratom and then take like a whole like a 8 ounce Red Bull and just like shoot it in one shot and just get jacked, just like and then just go and work out after that.
What kind of trip is that like?
Productive. It just gets it over with is what it does. Just da 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 da, and then I'm done, and then I can just go on about
Kratom
my day.
makes me hallucinate, dude. It makes me hallucinate.
It can put you in a weird place if you take enough. It'll put you in a weird place.
Dude,
If you take a
I took like, I'm sorry.
oh no,
Yes?
go ahead.
I was saying, dude, the last time I took kratom, bro, I took like half, like a, what, it was like a water bottle full of powder.
Oh God,
I took like the majority of the water bottle.
yeah, I don't.
Has some, has some, oh, dude, you just sleep on that shit, dude. You're gonna fucking feel like your dick got stolen by a Jewish nigga named Philip. You're gonna be like running around New York City trying to get your penis back, but it's made of Play-Doh, bro.
I like to work out on
Doing
it.
shit
I
like
like lifting weights on it. I
that.
do.
Oh,
I've also
God,
taken it with
fucking.
pre-workout before too, and just feel like I'm having a heart attack, and then start go lifting weights after that.
Oh yeah, dude, kratom is like that. I was like, that's like legal, like that's illegal hallucinogen. That's free time.
Well, Tony, it's been an amazing ride, and I'm going to want to have you back on the podcast soon. Really, let's see, I've got one that's coming out before you, and then you'll come out on episode 4, and then hopefully I have another guest lined up for 5. So you'll probably, if you don't mind, you probably could be on around between 6 and 8 or